There's no noise. There's just the bird calls. You see the turkeys. You see the deer. The horses, and they're out there doing their horsey thing. You want entertainment? Look at the stars. Look at the moon. Look at how the animals interact with each other. Talk to the person you love. That's the entertainment around here. Before we met, I had bought a property. It was off the grid, 40 acres next to the Los Padres National Forest. This was a beautiful piece of property. You could see for 100 miles on a clear day. Literally, we're on the top of a mountain. You could see the whole scallop of the Monterey Bay. Sunrise here, sunset there, beautiful.
We met through horse friends. I was living in Palm Springs, and I went on a vacation, Thanksgiving vacation with my horse and some horse friends. And we spent the weekend at Steve's Ranch in Cachagua, Carmel Valley. About the same time, I got a job interview in Carmel working for a CPA firm. And so I reconnected with Steve, and he helped me find a place to live.
We're both avid horse people, and we do long-distance endurance racing. And so we started training together. We spent a lot of time on the trail, in the saddle, at home, after a ride, having dinner, and it just sort of evolved. We became friends first, and then we became lovers and later got married.
Horses are my passion. They have been my passion since I could speak. And when I was 8 and a half, I got my first horse. And so from then on, I've always had a horse. I got into the sport of endurance later in life, and the endurance riding is the 50 and the 100-mile races on horseback. It's basically a marathon on horses with checkpoints throughout the course to check on the physical metabolics of the animal to make sure the animal is doing okay. I wanted to test my training ability and my understanding of the physiology of the horse to compete at the top level, which is the World Equestrian Games. So I decided to supply horses for another country, and so we did go. I did prepare the horses. We supplied them to South Africa.
I was in the electronics industry for about close to 30 years, and I was getting burned out in that. So I decided to fold my company, and I went to our local banker in Carmel, and we had a conversation about, let's put this money into something. So he put me into a local investment for real estate deeds of trust. We interviewed him. We did our due diligence. We invested a large amount of money, most of our life savings, into that investment. Well, in 6 months, the check stopped. We found out that we had invested in a Ponzi scheme. On top of that, I owed the bank some money on the line of credit that I had with them, which I could no longer pay. So they foreclosed on the ranch. We were absolutely decimated. Losing your home, the place that you love, everything that you've built up and so forth, and have it taken away through someone else's action of fraud, it's not something that's easily put away. So that's when we started looking for alternatives to our life there. So this is actually the first place that we came and looked at. So we drove up from Carmel Valley, we turned into the driveway, and there was just this farmhouse, and it was painted a pale, tired blue. And I just looked at her and I said, you know, this little house is screaming to be yellow. And that's how it happened.
The population density in the county, Mariposa County, is very low. I think it's like 18,000 people live here. So in this county, there's plenty of space. But first off, you've got to live. You've got to pay the mortgage. And it's location, location, location. So yes, Yosemite is a huge draw. Without Yosemite, we wouldn't have the business that we have. But that's only a piece of the puzzle. The county is very good to work with in terms of building. They haven't made it hard on us. So it's easy to do business here.
But when we first got here, the property across the street was literally a dump. We were able to purchase that property, and I right away started in on cleaning it up. I took out 48 tons of scrap metal, 6 cars that were on blocks. We demoed and removed 2 houses that were rats' nests, and it's taken me going on 5 years now of working every winter to make it look like a nice park. But all that work was therapy for me. Every rock that I moved, every tree that I cut, every paintbrush stroke that I did was therapy.
That when you come here, this big yellow house, we watch people, and it's almost like they drive up the drive and see these bright yellow buildings, which is exactly what they see on the website. The room that they go into is exactly the same bedding that they see on the website. You know, each room is different, and yet it's not all cluttered with stuff, but it's just enough to make it feel like you're home.
It's hospitality. It's sharing what you have because you want to share. That's a loving thing.
And it's a beautiful place to live. There's lots of hidden gems that are outside the park that you go there and go, oh, wow, look at that hike, or oh, look at that ride, or look at those trees. There's a lot of beauty in this county.
And so between Yosemite and a nice place to sleep and a good quality breakfast, that's a nice adventure for people. That's a nice package.
We worked nonstop for the better part of 10 years. And I drove up and I stopped in the driveway and I looked and we had these two beautiful buildings here. And it was then that I realized the value, not the monetary value, but the value for our soul. And yes, yellow house, because this is the happy color. And that's what we're trying to share is happiness.